Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Kerfoot, the Deputy Director of Events at Politics and Prose, and I'd like to welcome all of you to tonight's PNP Live event. We are actually presenting this event in partnership with our friends at Girls Night In because All Adults Here is actually their May book club pick, and you can learn all about them at their website, girlsnightinclub.com, and of course, find them on Instagram. Their Instagram is A+. I have just a few things to go over before we begin. At any time during this event, you can click on the green button below to purchase a copy of All Adults Here straight from PMP's website. And I've also put the link to buy Jen's book, The Upside of Being Down, at the top of the chat on the side. So check for those links. As I'm sure you know, independent bookstores are in need of your support right now more than ever. So we really hope you'll support both us as well as both of our authors by picking up a copy of their book. A reminder that we're offering $5 flat shipping on all orders, no matter what you buy. So feel free to stock up on all of your other quarantine needs while you're at it. You can also ask either of our authors a question by clicking on the Ask a Question button, which is also at the bottom of your screen. And you can read other people's questions and even vote for the ones that you would like to hear answered most. So feel free to submit your questions in that space at any time during tonight's event. And finally, we have a fun poll for you guys about the most adult thing that you've done this week while in quarantine. So feel free to click on that again at the bottom of the screen. And if you have any other accomplishments that you're just proud of, that you were actually a grown-up this week or during quarantine, feel free to share those in the chat because I think adulting is hard always, but especially right now. Okay, on to tonight's event. Emma Straub is the New York Times bestselling author of 4 novels: The Vacationers, Modern Lovers, Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures, and of course, All Adults Here, as well as the short story collection, Other People We Married. She and her husband own Bookstore Magic, an independent bookstore in Brooklyn, New York, and most importantly, she is a friend of booksellers everywhere and an advocate for the importance of books in indie bookstores. Moderating tonight's event is Jen Gotch, the founder and chief creative officer of ban.do and author of the book, The Upside of Being Down. So now it is my pleasure to bring Emma Straub and Jen Gotch onto your screens.
Hello.
Where's the hat? I'm just going to be like this the whole time.
Okay, I'll do it too.
Hi. Oh, cute. Twins.
Me.
Okay, we did it. I was just described as the moderator, which made me incredibly, like a wave of anxiety came over me because
we're talking. You and me, we're talking. It's going to be fun.
Talking. I will say, okay, there are a couple things. We're just talking, but I thought it would be funny for me to type up a list of questions that I would ask.
Okay.
The first thing that I want to ask you, Emma, someone that I've known for a very long time, and we will be discussing how these two people came together. Straub?
Oh, yeah. Let's start there. That's good. Yes. Yep. You did it.
Straub.
Professional moderation achieved.
Listen, I don't know that I've ever had to say your name to you, and you are Emma Straub to me.
That's me.
And then I was like, wait, I don't want, my anxiety really started kicking in like 48 hours ago, and I was like, what, how do you say it? Not that you're the last person that would ever be, but you're not bothered by anything really. And so I was like, so I had to find an interview with you saying your name because I was like someone else. So I did it. I'd like to just show you. Emma Straub. Emma Straub. Straub. I've been listening to it for 48 hours.
Jen.
Anyways, everyone, please welcome Emma Straub.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Should we tell everyone how we came together? Do you want to tell it?
I'll do it.
Tell it.
Okay, so set your time machine. For some reason, I'm hearing myself. If I do that, can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
So let's set our time machines back 12 years or more?
12.
12 years.
Yeah.
So my friend Joanna Goddard, who has a blog called Cup of Joe. Sorry, I'm having this weird echo.
What happens if you, because you're worried about the microphone. That's fine.
So Cup of Joe posted a thing about this exciting new company that made these beautiful things. And I went to your website and I was like, I need everything. This whole situation is really speaking to my soul. And I'm going to just give them all my money. So I did. And it was right before I got married. And I needed a little pizzazz.
You needed something.
And what we came up with was what I call the head tutu.
I think I have a picture of it.
It was like this big. In fact, when Jen sent it to me, it was like this big.
You had
And
to
I was
make
like,
it a little
guys, can
bit
we dial
smaller.
it in just like a scooch? And so it was like that bag. And it was tulle and with
A vintage
jewels.
brooch. Can I?
Yeah. So there's my head tutu.
Look how cute you are too.
Oh my God. I had a neck. Yeah. And that was 12 years ago. And here we are. Here's a little ban.do.
I know you're representing and I'm just a total jerk.
Yeah.
Okay, no big deal. That's who you are.
Yeah. I mean, basically I decided that like you guys were mine and I was yours.
I was just gonna say, and we decided the same thing about
Yeah,
it.
it was very mutual. And here we are.
And here we are.
What's really funny and what I really would like to talk to you about is that
Please.
like you had a business that had nothing to do with writing books, and then
Yeah.
you wrote a book.
Yes.
I was
You
writing
have
books and it had nothing to do with the business, and now I have a business.
I mean, that's, I'm just now learning about quantum physics, so I don't know that I'm prepared to even comment on what you just said. Well, here's a question for you, because I was obviously devastated that I didn't get to come to your business because it was really at the very tippy top of my list. How are you feeling? I mean, you've got a lot converging all at once. I mean, we all do, but
yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's definitely not like the perfect time to have a small business.
no.
But it's really going well. I mean, I think that the wonderful thing about independent bookstores is that people get it. People understand that like if they want those stores to be there, they have to support them.
Yeah.
And so our people, our customers, our friends, our neighbors are really showing up for us. And I mean, business is busy. Like it's busy. And poor Mike, my husband, is there every day, all day, just shipping stuff out.
I love it. Oh, good. Well, you guys have, I feel like, such a huge community there that like, loves you with good reason. They've picked up on what I've picked up on. I was born in Brooklyn. I don't know if you know that.
I did not.
We have so much to connect over here publicly. Is it true, from my research, is it true, Emma, that you just turned 40?
Yes, on April 25th.
Do we want to talk about how that's going?
Sure. I didn't have like super big feelings about it. But then I did I definitely was having a little birthday moment because like my children were just in tears the whole day.
Because you were turning 40?
No. I mean, there was like a Lego disaster. There was a cake disaster. There were just disasters, as there are all day long, every day, all day long. So someone else has commented, Jen, that they too were born in Brooklyn.
No. Suspiciously, that looks like that someone else may be my father.
I know.
So let me tell you what I do. Let me tell you why my glasses have come off. Because without them, I can't read. And it allows me to not see comments such as that. But thank you, Dr. Jamie.
Yeah.
So we all three of us have something in common.
Yes.
Speaking of dads, my dad is a podiatrist. So I didn't follow in his footsteps. Your dad, on the other hand, is also
not a podiatrist. Yeah, he's a writer. And, I feel really lucky that that I had a model for what writing really looks like. Like when I went to grad school, I don't know. I feel like there were I knew a lot of people who were like really romantic about it, and who were like, it's about being a writer is like drinking whiskey and staying up with it. And I was like, no.
You're like, it doesn't look like that.
It doesn't look like that at all, actually. What
does it look like?
It looks like a real job that you wake up and you do it all day. And you take it seriously. Yeah, I mean that was like the best thing about having a writer dad. Okay, wait. Someone says, "Can you talk about the book?"
We absolutely
talk about the book. We're just excited to see each other.
Yeah, we have to do catching up. I was told that there would be time to catch up. We're getting to the book because I felt like I wanted to understand your history as a writer, because I feel like when I met you, you hadn't written a book yet.
No.
But you knew that you were like.
I was in grad school then when we met.
And did you always know that you were gonna?
Yeah, I did.
So you saw your dad and you're like, I want that job.
Yeah, I mean, I when I was really young, I thought I would be a poet. But then I wasn't a very good poet.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to be a poet. But I knew that I wanted to be a writer. And once I graduated from college, that was when I was like, okay, I'm a novelist. Here we go.
So how long from when you went to college, but then you went to grad school?
Yeah. So it was another like 8 years. I wrote a lot of books that nobody published. 3 of them, 4, sort of 3 or 4. One of them ended up becoming The Vacationers, but after many years.
Yeah, I think this is good to know. I'm imagining that there is a very diverse audience of listeners here tonight that are here for all sorts of reasons, which is actually why you should ask questions, because I want to make sure, because Emma and I could just talk, which was our plan. Because I was like, when Politics and Prose, whom I also love, said, would you like to interview Emma for her book? I said, do you have the right Jen? They said, yes, it's you. And I said, do you know I basically read textbooks? Am I going to be talking about themes? And because I don't know how to do that. And you know what they said? No, talk about life during a pandemic.
Yeah.
You can
be fine. And I can talk about the book. I mean, how about this?
I think you should talk about it, because I have started reading it, even though I told you I haven't read it. I was doing my research and I was like, fuck, this is going to be as good as I thought it was. And then I saw maybe it was like an article for Elle, but you explained it and I was like, I screenshotted it. I'm like, I need to post this because this is fucking interesting. So please, Emma.
Yes.
Straub.
So this is the book. It looks like this.
It's beautiful.
And basically it's about it's about making mistakes and being in the sort of like sandwich moment in life where I have small children. Sorry, I feel like I'm slurring my words, and it's because I have an echo, and so I'm trying not to interrupt myself.
And hold your mic, take your ear thing out, and just.
But then I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm not important.
I'm gonna try this.
I'm sorry, Emma.
Okay, well, so I can do this for a minute. So basically, the book is like, it's about being in that center moment where you have children, small children who are totally reliant on you, but then also aging parents who aren't reliant on you, but who you worry about, and you feel like you're sort of always being pulled in both directions. And the idea of being an adult is funny. I mean, I just turned 40, and I still cut my name out of construction paper and forced my children to do drawings for my cool background. How grown up is that? I don't know. Not very. But of course I am grown up in other ways. Like, and if you ask my children, they would say I was grown up. But like the minute I walk into my parents' house, Panini generation, I love that. Yeah. The minute I walk into my parents' house, I like literally throw my clothing on the floor, like throw my coat on the floor and like kick off my shoes in the middle of the rug and just start eating whatever's out, like a hobo. I mean, and is that adult? I don't know. Not very. And the book is really about like what it feels like to make mistakes and to hold on to those mistakes, and also to understand that like the mistakes that your parents made aren't necessarily the things that you're mad at them for. You know what I mean? That like we all try our best, right? All of the time. And sometimes that goes really well, and sometimes it doesn't, I mean, I especially feel that way. Like right now I feel that way as a parent and as a boss. Like that's one of the reasons I loved your book so much, Jen, because I was like, yeah, like how do you have a business when you're not like a super buttoned up human? Like, I don't know. So you tell me about how to be a good boss.
I think I have no idea. I will say I think I'm the poster child for if she can do it, I can do it, which ultimately is a good thing. But the adult part, I mean, I'm 48, so I'm well into my 40s. My dad, who is here with us tonight, or he may have fallen asleep, he doesn't really stay for the whole thing usually, can certainly attest to the fact that when my brother and I, who he's also an adult, go home, we immediately fall back into our old patterns. And I think it's interesting, like generationally, and now I will call us the Panini generation because I love bread. Like maybe we're redefining adulthood, because I think there's a lot of, I think that's probably part of why we like each other, because we're, I like to think of myself as like a part-time 13-year-old. Also just operates in a professional space. Sometimes as a 13-year-old and sometimes as a 48-year-old. But I think like being able to say that you don't, what we were shown as children is like you make this evolution and you might lose your sense of humor or your sense of fun, or you can't wear color anymore, and like that, and all of the emotional things that go along with that. And like, I feel like there's maybe just an opportunity. I feel like there's a lot of us that are just like trying to figure it out in a new way. So when I saw that that was, the topic of the book, I was like, fucking Emma. I mean, also, I would say most people here highly aware of your writing. But I was talking to my friend Allie today, who also works at ban.do and is a huge fan of yours. And she was like, I mean, all of Emma's books, the beauty of them is they're an easy read, but written by someone who's incredibly smart. So you get, and it's true. So because it is nice, I think like to be able to feel like you're not like laboring over these concepts that are too hard. I mean, if my book went unedited, it would be a nightmare, sometimes we all just know too much. But I think like the fact that you're always able to you're coming from a place of, one of my questions was, what does it feel like to be so smart? So we can answer that now. But I just think like you're coming from this place, but then you're able to do something that's so funny and relatable, and like that's really, I feel like now more than ever, obviously, like, that's something. And even for those of us who don't read books that don't have questions at the end of each chapter, we run out of things to watch. So now we are moving to the book space. So
yeah. I mean, I guess, I'm going to just do that better. My feeling about writing is that maybe there are writers who don't feel this way, but I feel like we all write the only books that we can, like I think that, someone bought, the funny thing about being married to the bookstore is that like when someone buys a book or says something cute in the notes, Mike sends me a picture of it immediately. And today a woman ordered my new book, and said in the notes field that she really liked my first book, Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures, and that was her favorite. And I was like, wow, nobody likes that one. Literally, nobody bought that one. Nobody likes it. When I'm in my bookstore and someone like puts their hand toward that one on the shelf, I'm like, are you lost? Are you okay? I'm proud of it. And it's like, I mean, I'm really proud of it because it was my first novel that got published, and it was full of research, and I really put my soul into it, but it's not in my voice. Like it's not, Claire, stop. I know you love Laura Mont. You're all very nice, very nice. But it wasn't until I wrote my next book, which was The Vacationers, that I realized that if I wrote a book in my own voice, that it would come out of me more easily, and that it would go into people's ears and eyeballs more easily. Like that I think I was trying to be like a serious novelist when I'm not that serious, like I am always more interested in making people laugh than in having them be like, wow, like someone came to the bookstore. I won't say who. I will not say who. But a debut novelist came to the bookstore, and someone asked a question at the end about his sentences. And he said, with a completely straight face, I think what you're referring to is the lyricism of my prose.
A sentence I will never utter.
I would not say that. I would not say that. But so I think that, like, for me, being funny and telling a story in a way that includes like humor and levity and optimism is just that's what works for me. That's what works for me. And again, that's another thing that we have in common, that like, and I think that you've been really amazing at this, Jen, that like, you had a business that was all about fun and sunshine and goofiness. And you were like, and sometimes my brain does this sort of thing. Jen, can you
That's
talk about
Allie.
lyricism?
Thank you, Allie.
But and I think that's what I try to do in my books too, which is that like I want there to be, I want them to be optimistic and fun to read, and I want them to have substance, like they're not made of marshmallow fluff, they're like they're real books about real humans, but they're told in a way that goes down easy, I hope.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like as such. Put your thing in, because I'm ready to talk. No, because I feel like there's something really interesting in there. When you said you realized that the first book was not written in your voice, and I think that for so many of us, like even for me, and it is a book about my life, I was like very caught up in like, maybe it should be like this book, or maybe it should be like that book, or maybe it should sound like that. I think even in the early days of ban.do, I was like looking at other companies. I mean, at that point it was mostly just big brands, because like e-commerce really had just sort of started. But it's like I lost sight of myself and my own vision and voice, because I thought maybe there was something better, or if something else is already working for someone else, maybe I should do it. And I think, and the reason I'm reiterating that is because I feel like there are probably a lot of people that can relate to that, because I can't imagine that we don't draw in creatives through both of our work. And I think it is such a, it's such a skill to be able to identify when that's happening and have the confidence that what you're going to have to offer is going to be different, and it is going to be the most meaningful if you just stay true to you. So I do have a question, which is, did that happen? Was it something in how you felt after you wrote the first book that you were like, ugh, or did you have an epiphany, or it was just like wisdom?
I think it was really that, like, I think when I started out, my vision for my career, God, Claire McGinnis, am I going to get in trouble for anything I say? Tell me in the
Is Claire out there?
My publicist is she's going to tell me if I'm in trouble.
Sorry.
So when I started, I was like, I want to be like Jennifer Egan, and I want all of my books to be totally different. Okay, she says no way. Okay, I thought, like, I want all of my books to be totally different. I want this one to be this old Hollywood historical novel. I want this one to be this like sunshiny contemporary novel. Maybe there'll be one in space. Maybe there'll be one that's like just a romance for teenagers. Maybe there's like, I don't know. But when I wrote The Vacationers, the feeling that I got was so clear. I mean, it could not have been more clear to me, in terms of how it felt to write it, how it felt to publish it, how it felt to talk to people about it, that like I had figured it out, and that it wasn't, that my career was, I mean, who knows, who knows what will happen. I'm only 40, and I'm going to write a lot of books, I hope. And, we'll see what happens. But I think, I think the more likely scenario is that, I will write books that continue on more in this direction. Okay, space novel. I'll write a space novel, I promise.
Oh my God, I would love that.
I'm writing a space novel.
You don't know. The thing is you don't know.
Jen?
I mean, we can talk offline, and I can pitch you a couple ideas of what I think the future holds and what I think we could write about. But I think the thing is you don't know, right? So you know what you want to do, and I think like paying attention to that feeling you get when you are doing something that's more aligned is important for us all. It's a good reminder for me, even right now. It's like very easy to get confused, and it sounds like the way that was the Vacationers was the one after Laura Lamont's like was received differently as well. Like energetically,
yeah,
it was
people bought it.
Yeah, people touched it. I love that. Okay. Yeah. I believe I'm going to click on this ask a question and see if I don't know. Oh, this one is the most popular question. I'd like to know how Emma came to open a bookstore. I kind of would like to know that too.
Okay, I know the answer. Okay. So when I was in my late 20s, after I moved back to Brooklyn from Madison, Wisconsin, which is where I went to grad school, I started working as a bookseller at a store called Book Court, which was in the neighborhood that we lived in. And I loved it. I was just so excited to be around writers and publishing people and just like weirdos all day long. I loved it. And I was like, I never had like a big job there. Like I did the Twitter because I was had just been invented and I enjoyed it and nobody else cared. So I was like, guess what, guys? Now we have Twitter. But like no one ever gave me any responsibilities. I had no responsibilities, which was good because I didn't want them. And that was great. And then I started publishing books and I quit. Yeah, the weirdos are the best part of the job. You're right. I quit when after Laura Lamont came out. Laura Lamont came out in the fall of 2012, and I quit just after that Christmas because I was writing The Vacationers. Or I'd written The Vacationers and I was pregnant and I just knew that my life was changing and that I had to do it. But I always loved it and I always loved that store. And, you know, for every book that came out, I would have a big party there. And we moved out of the neighborhood, but I still really I felt like it was my place. So much so that when I was pregnant again, a few years later with our second child, I was having just like one of those very pregnant feelings where I was like, I need to be able to walk to a bookstore. Why can't I walk to a bookstore? And so we moved back just a couple of blocks away from Book Court. And then a few months later, we found out that they were going to close. And it was not a sad story at all. It was the owners had run this very successful, wonderful, thriving independent bookstore for 35 years, and they were ready to retire. And they'd sold their buildings, and it was good. Like it was a bittersweet moment for them. But it was really heartbreaking for me in the neighborhood. And Mike and I had always talked about the like fantasy of taking over the bookstore when they retired. But I'd never told them that because I don't know. It was like, I thought it would happen in like, I don't know, when they were like 90 years old. I don't know what I was thinking. But so we found out from someone who worked there, and I called them, the owners, that day. And I said, listen, you know, I don't know if this is true, but if it's true, just please talk to us because like, just so you know, we would want to do this. And then, you know, it didn't work out that we like took over the store because the store they'd sold the buildings. So we would have to move it anyway. But really that was in November or October. That was in October of 2016. And then there was the election in November, which you may recall. And it was just so clear that we just needed to do it because we were going to need, and I didn't even know at the time how much we were going to need spaces for ideas and safety and all of those good things. And so we started looking at spaces, and we were open by May. I mean, we rented a space in February, and we were open by May of 2017. So yeah, that's how we opened a bookstore. And, as I said, my only experience working in a bookstore was just selling books, talking to people. I've always been like chatty. And my husband has this very good trait, which is two very good traits. The first one is that he will do whatever I want. And the second one is that he can figure anything out. And I knew that he would be able to figure out what we needed to know. And it was just our third birthday. And I mean, thank God he's good at figuring things out, because he's had to figure everything out all over again, in the last 6 weeks. Yeah, that was a very long answer, but
I love it.
How we opened a bookstore.
I loved that answer. I mean, I love all of your answers, but like, that's an amazing story. And also just the fact that like on some level you guys knew even before you knew. And that's why your store's so special, even though I haven't been there.
It's all right. There's time.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Let's see. Let me just glance through, because I don't think we'll be able to get to all of them. Do you have a favorite sentence that you've ever written?
Oh my gosh.
And is it lyrical prose?
Do I?
No, I added that part.
Oh, I wish I did. Should I? I don't know. I don't. Okay, wait. I'm scrolling through the questions too. Okay. Oh, wait. Here, can I answer one?
Yeah. Oh, wait. You're wait. Listen, if you can look at them, you should. Yeah. Why would I be in charge?
I don't know. I mean, okay. I'm going to answer Joanne's question is, did you write the book with young parents as the audience? What does your book offer to older readers? Okay. So here's my answer. So the book is about 3 generations in a family. The matriarch, Astrid, is 68 years old. And really, the book is all about her. I mean, the book is about her children and her grandchildren also. It's a big ensemble cast, but Astrid is at the very, very center of it. And the book opens, this is not much of a spoiler because it's the very first sentence, so forgive me. The book opens with Astrid parking her car, looking out her rearview mirror and watching this woman who she has known and not ever liked for 40 years get hit and killed by a school bus, an empty school bus. Okay, favorite sentence. I like the first sentence of my book. Okay, because everything happens right there. Bing, bang, boom. And seeing this woman who she doesn't really like get hit by this bus, it really jostles her. And she immediately sort of changes course and starts to do a lot of thinking about what she was like as a parent to these 3 kids who are now, in their mid 30s to early 40s, and what she has done, what parenting mistakes she made, and what the sort of repercussions of those mistakes were. I think that I understand. I mean, my children are very young. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I make mistakes every day. Certainly, right? And I am still trying to wrestle with the fact that like all of like the young parent guidance that I see is basically saying like, it's okay. If you're worrying about it, you're probably okay. You're doing fine. you know, they won't remember much from this period anyway, right? And I think that that's useful information, useful advice for like getting through difficult times with like, you know, toddlers and just post-toddler young children. But on the other hand, I also think that it's not true, you know, that like children, we are as parents always on stage, and our children are always listening to us. And so the book is really about, you know, this woman dealing with that, and reckoning with her own mistakes, and also falling in love again. And she is in a relationship that her children don't know about, and then she, I don't know. I mean, you gotta read the book. You gotta read the book. But yeah, that's what it has for older readers, I would say.
I mean, I'm getting more and more interested about this book.
Okay, wait.
Please choose another question, Emma.
Oh no, really? Where is it?
I feel like if I had known that I could choose my own questions when I'm being interviewed, my life would have been different. Someone wants to know if we can go on a joint book tour, and I'll answer for both of us. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, wait, where?
There's a lot of questions that you've sort of answered within your.
Okay. Writing process.
Well, I'll ask you this: Has your writing process changed?
Oh, so sad. Yeah, it's changed. You know, I used to be a youth with you know, just like a footloose and fancy free youth. And now I'm not. You know, so I used to be able to write whenever I wanted, and like really when the muse was talking to me, and with like this pillow and that thing, and and then I had one child, and I was like, whoa. And that made it harder. And then I had another one, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Where did all my time go? And then I opened a bookstore. And so now, pre-quarantine.
Yes.
My weeks were split basically 2 days or 3 days at the bookstore and 2 days or 3 days writing. But a day is really from like first grade drop off to pick up. So it's like from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is fine. Like that's enough time for me. Like my brain shuts off. You know, I know there are a lot of people who write in the nighttime, and I can't do that. But I used to have more days, and now I don't have more days. And it's hard because I really, really love both my jobs. I love them. I love being a writer, and I love making things up and sitting by myself in silence for hours. And I'm an extrovert and a chatterbox, and I like humans. And so I love having a bookstore because I love being around all of my booksellers who are so smart and so funny. And I love the serendipity of having a space where anyone can walk in. And, you know, sometimes it's like, or every day it's, you know, that guy who lives around the corner who will come in with his dog, and that lady and her cute baby. And sometimes it's Ethan Hawke, and you're like,
no big deal.
Ethan Hawke looking at the beat poetry. And you're like, that is the world. Don't tell him I said that, you guys, but it's true. And I love it. And I really miss it. But so it's like, I wouldn't want to trade one, you know, I'm not sorry that we opened the bookstore, you know, even though it costs me writing time, you know. I love that baby too. Was that an answer? Sorry. I can't believe I said that.
Your answers are, we should call them something else, because within the answer, there are questions that we didn't know we had, and you answer those too. And I personally was wondering if Ethan Hawke ever came in and what he gravitated towards when he did, and now I know that.
I'm going to get in trouble.
So, yeah, I feel like you got, Claire was like,
I know, but the thing is, don't you think with these, like my thought about like the Zoomy crowdcasty events is that like, I mean, the good news, bad news is that I can only see you. So I'm like, I'm talking to my friend and it's great. And I can tell her any gossipy thing I want because she's just sitting in her kitchen in the desert. Like she needs funny stories, you know? And like on the one hand, it's really sad not to have like a room full of people to like laugh at our jokes and things like that. But on the other hand, it does like it lulls me into a false sense of privacy and security.
Same. I mean, I have already an existing problem with boundaries and what I keep to myself. And so, I mean, the difference for me is that my dad tends to be present at most things. So I'm like, oh man, I think I just said something. But what I would say, and I haven't been like, I've been always participating in them, but I feel like I wish I could just see people talk, you know, like sometimes it's just like, I don't know. And I do think there is a looseness, especially when your moderator is not a moderator. But I just think in general, like, I think that there's something nice and it allows it to flow. And I would imagine listening to someone that you like and an author whose work you love, just like talk, is just as interesting and insightful as you know, answering my questions about your dad.
Yeah.
So,
all right, wait. I'm going back in to the question folder.
I'm gonna see if I have anything. I think mine were all stupid.
A sense of place. Should I talk about that?
If only I knew what that meant.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Sense of place. Here I go. I feel like it's so mean that I like literally am disconnecting from Jen every time I talk, but otherwise. Anyway, okay, sense of place. So what's funny to me about sense of place is, with the exception of Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures, which, as we've previously discussed, is my most and only successful novel, and is set in the studio system, Hollywood studio system. Really, all my other books are just about New Yorkers. Even though only one of them actually takes place in New York City. Like in The Vacationers, I was like, all right, let me just like round up these New Yorkers and put them on an airplane and send them to Mallorca, because that sounds like a nice place to go. And I'm going to go there so that I can write this book that takes place in Mallorca, which is a good tip for novelists. Is think about a place. It's going to be tricky for a moment, but soon it'll work again. Think about a place you want to go and then write a book there. And then you have to go there to do research. But so the book is, The Vacationers takes place in Mallorca, which, you know, I went to do research and what I found was that it was even more perfect than I thought, because it's this, you know, it's got this major literary and artistic history, and there's great food and all this stuff. And, you know, it's a funny place because Americans don't really go there. But for Europeans sort of treat it like, like, I don't know, like New Yorkers might treat like Puerto Rico, or so, like it's really close. Like it's a really close, easy, beautiful island destination. And so Europeans go there to like party hardy. but Americans don't really go there. So it was, I don't know, there were a lot of fun things for me to play with in that book. And plus it's just a very beautiful place to write about. And it's nice to write about a beautiful place. Then for Modern Lovers, I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to write a book that takes place in Brooklyn because here I am in Brooklyn. But I set it in this neighborhood called Ditmas Park, which is a neighborhood that isn't like what most people think of as Brooklyn, because it's got big Victorian houses and trees and, it's what do they call them? Porches. They got porches and lawns. Have you heard of those things? Because I don't have those things, but other people have them when they live in other cities and towns. And it was fun to like treat to have this little pocket of New York City that most people don't really know about. And then for this one, I had this fantasy of this perfect place that was just like Stars Hollow. Like I wanted a town that felt like Stars Hollow, and then I wanted to populate it with my people. And so, it's a very New Yorker-y view of upstate New York because that's what I've got. You know what I mean? Like that's just my point of view is as a New Yorker, for better or for worse. That's what it is. But I wanted, again, similar to Mallorca, I wanted beauty. I wanted it to be a physically beautiful place. And I wanted it to be a place where I could move my people around in like a cozy, tight way. So like there's, the diner, from the front window of the diner, you can see the hairdresser's shop, and across from there, you can see the pizza and the bookstores next door. I wanted this really tight little neighborhood where people would always have their eyes on each other, because that's what the book needed. All right, that's my answer about setting.
I mean, here's what I want to say to you. You're convincing me maybe that I should be reading more fiction. Like, to hear you speak on your process is incredibly inspiring. And to know, like, that's just you talking about, what was it called? Place?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, knowing that that's just a part of this whole thing that you're constructing in your mind, and just the way how thoughtful you are and your intentions behind all of it. I think, like, as someone who only dabbles in fiction, like, really took for granted, like, that the kind of work that goes into that, and like how fun that you like get to imagine. When do we get to see a movie? Well,
we're working on a TV show.
Okay, good.
So,
I mean, because I feel like it's begging for that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
If I can figure it out.
Well, I would imagine that you've sold a lot of people on this book tonight, like my dad.
It's good. You know what? I have to say, okay, this is me. I'm being a bookseller. Are you ready, everybody? Okay.
I want you to.
Here's the thing that I will say about this book. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I think that what it satisfies right now, I think, is the stuff that we are all really missing, which is not the like perfect, like, Christmas Day, like commercials of like a family all in like nice cashmere sweaters or something. Like, this is not a perfect family. It's a family of people who are sometimes mad at each other, and sometimes they're mad at each other for decades. But they really love each other, and they are in and out of each other's lives and houses and all of that, and bugging each other and worrying about each other. And I don't know about you, but I know how close you are to your parents. I am very close to my parents,
Mhm.
and I would love to have them bother me. You know, like one year on Thanksgiving, I think it was Thanksgiving, my dad was really into these cocktails of cranberry juice and seltzer water. He was like only drinking. He's like, I'm not coming unless I can bring my own bottle of cranberry juice and seltzer water and just drink these all night long. But the bottle of cranberry juice was too big for my refrigerator door. And so he put it in sideways, but the cap was really on. And so then cranberry juice was just all over the refrigerator and all over the floor. And I think about that and I'm just like, I miss my parents. You know what I mean? Like at the time I was like, are you kidding me? Now, I'm like, I love my parents and I really wish that I could be with them right now. They live like 5 blocks that way. Like they are so close. So I think that this book, sorry, that was a very long conversation thing about cranberry juice, but I think that that's why people are going to like this book because it gives you that sort of satisfaction.
Bravo. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You just get asked a question, and then the next thing we know, there's cranberry juice everywhere, and we're exploring grown children's relationships with their parents. But yes, I didn't really think about some of the things that we're probably all missing until you said that. But I feel like, reading obviously is an escape for all of us. And so to be able to escape to a place that you can see the beauty shop through the diner window and the pizza place.
Yeah.
Seems good to me. I don't know. I think we're going to be out of time, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I feel like Tyler, I feel like someone smart is going to come in and tell us what to do. I was going to try and, I know what. Yeah, wait, she should come in because she has questions for us.
Okay. I'm wearing Jen's hat.
And I'm wearing Emma's book.
I've got the book too. Hi, everyone. I'm Tyler, director of content at Girls Night. Hi, Jen. It was so fun. I just smiled for a couple hours.
Good.
So we are really excited to be reading your book this month, our book club, and strong believers that different books come to us at different moments in our lives. So the question I have for both of you is, what books have been coming to you during all of this, and maybe offer support? And what are kind of your favorite books of all time? The ones that you maybe just want to talk about endlessly.
Go for it.
Okay. Oh my gosh. You guys. Whew. Okay. Okay. What I've been reading a lot in quarantine is are books that are immersive and plot heavy, and where you actually just really can't wait to get back to it. It's my favorite feeling in the world is when you're reading a book and you're like, okay, I should go to bed, but I just want to read a little bit more. Last night I finished a book I really loved called Pretty Things by a woman named Janelle Brown. It's a mystery. It takes place in Lake Tahoe, and it's great. It's really like twisty and turny and sexy and cool, and I loved it. I also, another mystery I read in quarantine was The Herd by Andrea Bartz, which thanks, Politics and Prose, dropping my rec right there in the thingy. The Herd by Andrea Bartz. These are both also second novels. I think Janelle's is a second novel too. But that is a murder mystery that takes place at the Wing, basically, which is also where I write. And so that was
That's cool.
delish. And then I've been reading a lot of romance, or like rom-coms, they call them now, for perhaps you're familiar. There's one called One to Watch, but that comes out in July by a woman named Kate Stamen London. That's about a plus size fashion blogger who gets chosen to be the Bachelorette. What more do you need? Yeah, I don't know. Jen, what are you reading? Really? Textbooks? Just textbooks.
Generally speaking, hold on.
She's going to show us the textbook.
Is it going to happen?
Because I'm out here doing research. This book, Radical Compassion by Tara Brach, is about, it's probably her third or fourth book. This is about how you can find compassion for yourself, because I'm really trying to figure out that at 48. 7 brief lessons on physics.
Oh, yeah.
Which is supposed to be amazing. I'm 1 chapter in, reading about the theory of relativity. It didn't start with you.
That sounds
genetics. I don't know if anybody knows. Politics and Prose, I'm sorry if you don't have these books. It's about epigenetics, which I touched on like a tiny bit in my book, but now I've become obsessed with understanding how trauma is passed to generations genetically. I'll stop there. How can we even converse, Emma, you and I? I just want to bring books and read the books you're talking about. Sound very good. Anyways.
What's good to remember? Oh, the rom-com is called One to Watch. What's good to remember though, and is something that actually makes me feel better as a writer who also owns a bookstore, is to remember that not every book is for every person.
Yeah.
And that it's okay. Like whatever anyone wants to read is perfect. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, so many people are ordering War and Peace and Middlemarch from the bookstore right now. Yeah. And Middlemarch is one of my favorite books of all time, but I couldn't read it right now, like at all. And, I don't know. I just think there's like, sometimes people, introduce the idea of like guilty pleasures or like shame into reading, and it just has no place here.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah. I like you a lot.
Same.
Yeah. Were we supposed to answer another question, Tyler, or did we do it?
You did a great job. The last question was, what's your favorite book club of all time? So what's a book you could talk about all day long?
I can answer, and then that would give Emma a moment to think. As we discussed prior to this event going live, I've never been invited to be in a book club. I get invited to very few things. No one knows that about me, but it is true. The book that is for my own book club that I have with myself is called Tethered. That's the first book I always lead people to. So,
Jen, you're invited to our book club anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know.
Come on.
I mean, gosh, that is really hard because I feel like book clubs are really different, like it would, like if I was going to a book club with, people in their 20s, I would have certain books maybe, and people in their 60s, I would maybe have other books. Although, the only successful book club I was ever in was on my old block, and it was about 25 women, and we ranged from, I was the baby. I was in my I was 29 when I joined that book club, and the oldest people there were in their 60s. And it was awesome because we all had really different points of view. Gosh, I have no good answer. I mean, I would say, I don't know, something that just makes people talk about their own lives and brains and families. You know, that's what I'm interested in book
That's
clubs.
the formula, the secret
And
sauce. Thank you. You both are wonderful. This was a delight. And thank you, Politics and Prose.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was such a fun event. And I think it's perfect that we have Girls Night In and Jen Gotch because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I think this was good for my mental health just to hear you guys like talk and laugh. Jen's book, The Upside of Being Down, is also about kind of killing the stigma of mental health. And I also personally read novels for my own mental health, so All Adults Here is the perfect book for that. Purchase Emma's book down using the green button below. Support indie bookstores. It's so important right now. Support your local small businesses. They need you so much. And ladies, thank you so much. What a powerhouse group of women we had tonight.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you guys, and good luck on the rest of your tour.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody next time.
All right.
Good to talk to you, Emma. Bye.
Bye.